Okay, good evening. No worries. Om Jnanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we're continuing our study of Bhagavad-Gita. We're on chapter 9. And we will take the passage verses 4 through 10 today. So in previous passage, Krishna was glorifying the topic he was about to speak, which is the topic of Bhakti Yoga. He spoke of the qualification for hearing the topic, which is one should be non-envious, because Krishna will speak much about himself. So if you're envious, that will create complications. And he said by knowing this, what he will speak, that you can be free from all inauspiciousness. So there are many things inauspicious in our life. Our bad qualities, that bring inauspiciousness. But at the end of the day, the most inauspicious thing is death and rebirth into a world of death. So by knowing this knowledge and realizing it, jnana vijnana, Krishna said you can be free from inauspiciousness, which ultimately means samsara. So then he glorifies 7 characteristics or powers of this topic, Bhakti Yoga. And then he says those who do not have faith in this, they cannot attain him, but they attain the path of repeated birth and death. So that's just like a negative way of shining light on the importance of the issue. When you have to preach something, you always preach by positive and negative methods. First you say, come and buy my product. And then you say, if you don't buy my product, this will be the consequence. So everyone preaches like this. Only when religious people do it, they get upset. Because religious people say, come to heaven. They also advertise heaven, so many nice things you'll enjoy. And it's, oh, that's attractive. And then they say, if you don't do this, you go to hell. Not very attractive. But every group is actually preaching like this, by negative and positive methods. It's called Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya means like a positive assertion of the thing. Vyatireka, opposite. Negative assertion to bring you to the same point. So everyone has to preach like this. Also, when you make some advertisement, you'll say, do my thing, it is the best thing. And then you'll say, if you don't do my thing, you will remain a fool. You don't have the real knowledge or whatever, something will be given. So if you don't have faith in this topic, Bhakti Yoga, which Krishna will now speak about, then he said you will not attain him, you'll continue on the path of birth and death. So a very strong statement. So in verses 4 through 10, Krishna will speak about his powers, specifically his relationship to this material world, which is an exhibition of his power, clearly. Because by hearing about the powers of the Godhead, one's bhakti is nourished. That is the reason. Krishna will later on say this also deliberately in chapter 10, verse 7, that by hearing about the powers of God, one's bhakti becomes nourished. Just like if you hear about the opulence of some ordinary person also, you become attracted. And your attraction to them becomes more and more strong by continual hearing of their opulences. Right? Just like suppose, I don't know, who's some rich guy that people, Bill Gates, is he still alive? I don't know, okay, yeah. So suppose some guy comes in here, Bill Gates, but none of us know he is Bill Gates. So when we see him, you know, and he suppose he's asking some question, what is this place? And you're just like, Bhakti Center, and I'm like, it was on the front door. And he's, asking so many questions. You're like, man, I got something else to do, you get annoyed. He was like, what's your name? He's like, Bill Gates. Oh. Immediately you become interested. She said, yeah, I'm very fond of giving charity. Oh. And then you become more interested. And I was just looking for someone to whom charity should be given. And you say, oh, well, very nice. You can grab some nice tea. Hold on, I have something for you. Bring some garland, some sweet rice. Isn't it? You become immediately attracted by hearing the opulences of that person. Or they have they're very good singers. People spend a lot of money for these singers. They wait in line in the wintertime also, freezing cold, to buy a $500 ticket to hear some man or ladies talk all nonsense on the stage. Isn't it? They spend so much because that's an opulence also. They're singing. It's a type of opulence, very attractive. So you hear about the opulences of God, it nourishes bhakti. So this section, Krishna will speak about his powers in relationship to the world because that nourishes bhakti. So he begins in 9:4 and 5, where he talks about how he's the maintainer of the universe. Maya tatamidam sarvam jaga avyaktamurtina mastani sarvabhutani na chaham teshravastita. So Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat. So he says that I pervade this entire universe. So God is all pervading. He exists everywhere. He's ubiquitous. If he all pervading means he is in everything, because he exists everywhere. He is in everything. That is the meaning here. I pervade everything in this universe. Avyakta murtina, but my murti. So murti means form. The form through which I pervade this whole existence is avyakta. Avyakta means that it's not manifest to the material senses. You understand? Just like when there's a relationship between cause and effect, right? So the effect, before the effect is manifest, it exists inside the cause in an unmanifest way, right? And then when the effect is manifest, the cause exists in the effect in an unmanifest way, isn't it? You follow? For example, inside a small seed, there is a tree, potentially, but the tree exists inside the seed in an unmanifest way, right? Then when the seed sprouts, then the cause of when the seed sprouts and the tree is there, the roots are coming up. Then the cause, which is the seed, also exists inside the effect, but in an unmanifest way. There's a relationship between the two. You understand? So similarly, Paramatma, Krishna, he is the cause of the world. All right, he causes this world is an effect, whose remote cause is ultimately the Supreme Lord Paramatma. But that cause is unmanifest to our vision at the present moment. You understand? Just like when you see the tree, you don't see the seed anymore. Of course, seed is destroyed. You don't see the effect. You don't see the cause. But you can intuit the cause by looking at the effect, isn't it? Because that relationship is there. Just like if you get some disease also, then how do they try to cure you? They look at the effect and try to realize what is the cause. The cause is existing inside the effect somewhere. So we look at the effect, we can trace out the cause. There's that relationship is always there between cause and effect, right? But when the effect is functioning, you don't see the cause of the thing. It is unmanifest to your material eye. It has to be like research, basically. You understand? So this world is the effect of the Lord. So his avyakta, his murti, paramatma, that form is avyakta, it's not manifest to the senses. So although he's exists, just like the cause exists everywhere in the effect, but you don't see it anywhere. So this Paramatma, he's existing everywhere in this world, which is his effect, the effect of his own power, but you don't see him anywhere. Avyakta, his murti is avyakta, it means it's not manifest to material senses. You understand? Then he says, Mastani Sarvabhutani. So Sarvabhutani, all the living entities, they are Mastani, they are situated in me. So because I'm all pervading as the cause of everything, so I'm situated everywhere. And everything in this world is also situated in me because he's pervading everything. So he's saying, I'm in everything, but also everything is in him. Nachaham teshravastitaha. Everything is in him means everything is dependent upon him. Right? So the effect depends upon the cause. So everything is in me means everything is depending upon me. But nachaham teshu avasita. But I am not situated in them. A lot of this double talk going on in these first two verses. I am not situated in them means I'm not dependent on them. So that is the meaning there. They are situated in me because they are dependent on me for their existence. But I am not situated in them means I don't depend on them for my existence. That is the difference. You understand? Nachab mastani bhutani. Next verse again contradicts himself. Says but understand that all beings are not in me. So it's like, bro, you just said last verse that all beings are in you. So usually, if you're going to contradict yourself, you wait a little while so that people can't put the pieces together. Right? Like if you say one statement, you don't want to contradict yourself in the very next statement. You wait a little bit, and then you say it long as that way they don't make the connection. But here, Krishna is telling all beings are in me, and the next verse he says they are not in me. So this is not a contradiction. This is paradox. And the idea, paradox is basically like I've heard it like this before. I like this explanation. A paradox is like a philosophical speed bump because, when there's speed bump in the road, when you're driving, then you slow down. Or you don't, but you risk your car flipping over. So if you're intelligent, you slow down. So these philosophical speed bumps, they look like contradictions, but they're more like philosophical speed bumps to get us to slow down and to think about the meaning of what Krishna is saying. So he says, all living beings are in me. So concept will come that everything is existing in God. The example given by our charts is like, well, I'll use Prabhupada's example. Prabhupada uses the example of Atlas holding up the world. So everything is situated in God. So that's like a lot of people and a lot of stuff, like the whole universe. It must be heavy. That's a lot to maintain. So Prabhupada said you should not get the image like Atlas holding up the world. And then in his commentary he says, when Atlas is it Atlas is cursed to like whatever, like roll up the rock? Is that the one, or it's some Greek mythology?
Sisyphus.
That's Sisyphus. Okay, but who is the one who has to hold up the world? Isn't there one who like holds up? That's Atlas. What's his story? Yeah, you just know this is Atlas. I just know the picture is that. Anyway, I used to know these things when I was like 7. I was interested in them. So there's an image of Atlas holding up the world. So it's very heavy. And I don't know if Atlas is demonstrated there as having big muscles. The Greeks were into like the muscular form of man. So he has big muscles and holding up the world must be very heavy, must be very challenging. So you should not think that God is like that. That because everything is situated in him, that must be a burden for him. Some difficulty is there for him to maintain everything. That image should not come to mind. So that's why Krishna is giving this paradoxical statement. Everything is in me, but everything is not in me. All beings are in me, but all beings are not in me. Because they're not in me in the sense that I'm holding up a world like Atlas. Or they're not in me in the sense that water is inside a pot, that's in the pot is holding up the water. You shouldn't get that particular image. One time when the devotees were drawing Krishna holding up Govardhan Hill, as you see here, because to hold up a mountain must be a very difficult thing, very challenging thing, and not a very easy thing to hold up a mountain. So when the first devotees were painting Krishna holding up the mountain, they drew Krishna with big muscles. You can imagine it was like big old biceps holding up the mountain. And so Prabhupada said, "What is this nonsense? Krishna doesn't need big muscles to hold up the mountain. Even if you have big muscles, you're not going to hold up a mountain." So Prabhupada said, "No, not like this." He had to explain. So they didn't read this part of Bhagavad-Gita yet. Remember, they didn't understand it. So God is not maintaining like that. So that's why he says all beings are not in me. Pashame yogam aishwaram. Just see my mystic opulence, yoga aishwaram. Just see the opulence aishwaram of my yoga. So the word yoga here, our Acharya said, the word yoga here means that through which a complicated thing is made possible. Just like, for example, if you want to realize yourself, then yoga is a process by which that very difficult thing to realize, the self, becomes possible. So yoga aishwaram means the opulence of yoga, or Krishna's power, by which very difficult things become accomplished. So here, this yoga aishwaram refers to God's different shaktis by which he accomplishes his activities. And one of those shaktis is called Satya Sankalpa. Satya Sankalpa means that whatever God wants becomes immediately manifest. Satya Sankalpa Shakti. He has many different powers are there. And one such power is called Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he desires, basically it becomes immediately true. Satya, it becomes immediately true, it becomes immediately manifest. Imagine if you had that power. I always used to joke when I first heard that. I always used to have this image. Suppose you want some pizza, boom, and the pizza just manifests. Imagine if you had that power for even 5 minutes. The whole world would be in trouble. You had the power for just 5 minutes. Imagine you can accomplish anything just by your will. Like someone flicks you off in the street for no reason, so you just will for them to get hit by a car, like by accident. You didn't like mean to think that, but you kind of you know how you get like unnecessarily evil. Just in your mind for fun, you get unnecessarily evil. Just like what if I push this guy off the top of the train? That'd be interesting. Until the intelligence kicks in, and you say you'll go to jail. True. But it would be interesting. So suppose someone flick you off, and you just think, man, a car should hit them. Boom! And a car hits them. So if you have that power for even 5 minutes, you would be in trouble. So therefore, only Krishna has this power, not us. So through his Satya Sankalpa Shakti, anything he wills immediately becomes manifest. So his maintenance of the world is not like Atlas holding up the Earth planet, or it is not like water being contained in a pot. Rather, just by his willing it, it becomes maintained. Prabhupada uses this language also. There was another movie was there when I was growing up, Bruce Almighty with what was that actor's name? Jim Carrey. So he gets to be God for like a week or something like that. He was like jacking out the world. It's a pretty hard responsibility to be God. And at one point in the movie, he has like a love. This is as far as the movie goes. He has like a love interest in the scene in the movie, and he's trying to make it like a very romantic night, but the moon is like too far away, and he wanted the moonlight to be really on the scene. He had like manifested some nice music and everything, but it's like there needs to be more moonlight. So he took the moon and moved it closer to the earth. And then it started causing all these natural disasters all over the earth. Another in this movie also, he could hear all the prayers of everyone who was offering prayers to him. And it was just like, maximum. So to get some peace of mind, he made a computer to type answers to all the prayers that he was hearing. And he was saying yes to everyone's prayers. And then the world was being destroyed because of it. So after 7 days, he realized that he was not very good at being God. So he gave rulership back over to God, which was played by Lawrence Fishburne, I think. No, Morgan Freeman, yes. Not important information, but it's fun. So the point here is Pashame Yoga Maheshwaram. By Krishna's Shakti, he can accomplish anything. So his maintenance of the world is not a very difficult thing for him. So Bhuta Brahna Cha Bhutasto. So although I'm the protector of all beings, although I'm the maintainer of all beings, I am not situated in this cosmic manifestation. So Bhuta Brahma means the protector of all beings, or he's maintaining all entities. Just like the soul is inside this body, and it is the soul inside this body that is maintaining the body, actually. Although we think that we're eating and all these things are maintaining, but if the soul immediately leaves the body, then the body immediately begins to deteriorate. So it is the soul's presence that's actually maintaining the body, all the entities inside this inner universe of the body. So similarly, the Lord's presence inside this world is automatically maintaining everything. Everything's functioning automatically because of his presence. So although I'm the maintainer, not chaputa, so I'm not situated in the universe. In other words, he doesn't have to be there in order to maintain. Just like the temple president or director of some project like Bhakti Center. In order for them to maintain the place, they have to be present. If they go away, as we like to say, the saying is there, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Or the director of some place, he is not there, and then everyone in the place is like, I just feel so disconnected. Where are you? Like these things are coming. Why? So in order for them to maintain, they have to be present. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But here the Lord is saying, I'm the maintainer, although I'm not situated in the universe. So how you maintain? Mamatma Bhuta Bhavana. Mama Atma, just by my Mama means mine, by my Atma. By my Atma here means by myself. But our Acharyas and Prabhupada's purport also indicates this. It means by my will. It is automatically maintained. Bhuta Bhavana. The welfare of living entities is automatically maintained just by my willingness. So that is his position. So although he is everywhere, although everything is in him, everything is not in him in the sense of Atlas holding up the globe. Rather, by his powers, he is maintaining everything. In this way, this is his glory. Sometimes, and Paschimya Yoga, this is inconceivable. One time, Prabhupada was asked this question that can God create a rock that he can't lift? So it is a trick question, because if you say yes any side, then that means God is limited in some way. If you say God can create a rock that he can't lift it, that means his strength is limited. He can't lift the rock. And if you say he can't create a rock that he can't lift, then that means his power of creation is limited. So it's a trick question to demonstrate that God is limited. Some atheistic riddle. So someone asked Prabhupada this question also, can God lift a rock, create a rock that he can't lift? And Prabhupada said yes. And then in the next moment, he'll lift it. I remember when I first heard that, I was like, what a dissatisfying answer if you're if you're a person who considers yourself logic. But actually all such questions have dissatisfying answers at the end of the day, because God's power is inconceivable. If he could be conceived totally by the minute living entity, then how is he extraordinary? How is he God? So this is his extraordinary power. And by hearing about this, bhakti is nourished. So example is given, 96. Yatha kasha sito nityam vayu savatrago maham. So just as the akasha means ether in space. So inside the space, vayu savatrago mahan, the great vayu, wind, is floating around everywhere. It is situated in this akash. Akasha Sthita means this great wind is situated in this. I don't really have time to break down the elements, but because that would take too long. But ether is considered more subtle than air. We've discussed this in previous class on chapter 7. So ether is more subtle, and then there's air, and then there's form, and then there's taste, and then there's smell. From subtle to more gross. So space is there, and inside the space, the air is floating around, moving around freely. So space is inside the ether, and the ether is also inside the space. Krishna is giving this analogy to explain his relationship with this world. Everything is situated inside the ether. At the same time, the ether is not specifically concerned with anything that is situated inside itself. Right? Like suppose you pass air in the ether. Then the ether is not the ether is not disturbed by that. Like, why you pass air me, bro? The ether doesn't get disturbed. Although you're situated in it, it's situated in you, it is also detached from whatever's going on. By its very nature, it provides space for the activities of the air to move around. And not only the air, of course, for all living entities. So in the same way, tata sarvani bhutani mastaniti upadharaya. Try to understand. Upadharaya means try to understand. In the same way, all beings are situated in me. So by his very nature, he is upholding everything. And so many things are going on inside, but he is not attached to those things. So it's just like ether. Ether is not making a special arrangement for the air, right? Like, okay, you need air is like I'm a big guy. I like to move around a lot, and it's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. There's no need for a conversation. By ether's very nature, space is provided for which the air can move around. In a similar way, by Krishna's very nature of having all these amazing powers, by that very nature, everything can be situated within him without any difficulty. He doesn't have to like tax his brain how to maintain the living entities and so on. By his own nature, this is happening automatically. And the idea of the akasha is also to express his detachment. Usually if you create something, and you're maintaining something because you're very attached, right? You don't try to maintain something that you're not attached to. Right? You try to maintain this body, isn't it? Why do you try to maintain the body? Because you're attached to the body, isn't it? So you try to maintain that which is attached. But the Akashic examples also express the Lord's detachment from everything. It's going on automatically by my power, but there's also no attachment to it. And another reason there's no attachment because he doesn't have to perform any great activity for maintenance. When you're attached to something, you have to perform activity by which that attachment can be realized. That is another reason why you get attached to karma. Isn't it? We're attached to doing so many type of activities because in order to achieve our goals, we have to do something. So we become attached to the goal. We're also attached to the process, karma, by which it can be achieved. But there is no attachment in the Supreme Lord. All of this is happening automatically by His will, by His power. So these three verses describe Krishna as maintaining the universe, how He maintains. So in 2 verses, He describes creation and destruction. So in verse number 7, this is Him describing, creation and destruction. It says here, Sarva Bhutani Konteya Pakritam Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaya Punastani Kalpadovashajamyaham. So Kalpashaya means destruction of a kalpa. I don't know, how long is a kalpa? Like 1,000 ages taken together is called kalpa. You have Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. You heard of these things. So this taken 1,000 times is called a kalpa. So at the end of a kalpa, there's destruction of, half the universe. But here the word kalpashaya here indicates destruction at the end of Brahma's life. So Brahma lives for 100 years, and at the end of his life, the whole universe is destroyed. So it says here, kalpashaya, at the destruction of at the end of a kalpa, the end of a universal creation. Then all living entities enter inside Prakriti. Sarva Bhutani Konteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam. They enter inside my Prakriti. So Krishna is there, Paramatma, and he has his energy, the Maya Shaktis. They're also called Prakriti. And the Jivas are playing around in Prakriti. Then at the end of a universal time period, destruction, then all the living entities enter inside that Prakriti. And that Prakriti enters inside Paramatma. Doesn't really enter, that's not exactly the best word, but it becomes unmanifest. You understand? Then, Tani Kalpado Vishajamyam, at the beginning of another Kalpa, when it's time for creation, then from Paramatma comes out the world, and then from that world, all these living entities' bodies again become manifest. You understand? So it is an unfolding and enfolding of the universe. Because the universe is also itself eternal. So it is not creation from nothing. Like that is a concept in Middle Eastern traditions. God created from nothing. So that creates complications in explaining why he's so unfair, which is a thing that Krishna will also bring up in just a couple of verses. But the universe is always existing eternally. So it just goes through cycles of unfolding and enfolding. You understand? At the beginning of creation, there are unfolding. At the end of a creation, there's an enfolding. Got the image? That's a very important image to remember. Take note of the image. Take note of the image. Because next verse, Krishna explains very nicely. Oh, I lost my spot. 9:8. This is a very nice verse. Pakriti swam avashtabhya Vishajami Puna Puna. So that Prakriti, which is situated in myself, when it's time to create it again, comes out. Bhuta Grama Imam Krishna Avasham Pakritir Vashat. So how does it come out? How does it manifest itself? It's manifesting itself in a very particular way. It's not just manifesting itself. What's the word I'm like? I'm looking for the word random, like, huh? Yeah, it's not whimsical. Yeah, it's not whimsical. It's not like a kaleidoscope. Like you don't know what image is going to come up or anything. Like everything is being manifested in a very specific way. So how is it manifest? So it says here, Bhuta Grama Imam Krishna Avasham Pakritir Vashat. According to the Pakritir Vashat, means under the control of Prakriti, Avasham, the living entities, Bhuta Grama, the living entities are getting their bodies under the control of their natures that are produced by Prakriti. And this is all happening helplessly. Avashami means helplessly. So when the universe is being unfolded, first the universe comes out, then the bodies come out. They get bodies according to their destiny. Their karmic destiny is fructifying, they get certain bodies. Pakritirvashat means they're under the control of their natures given by Prakriti. And this is happening helplessly. So it unfolds and it unfolds. So the body you get, just like did you choose the body that you have? You didn't choose it. Sometimes when you look in the mirror, you're like, because, and you have some nature that is also getting you in trouble. And you're very helplessly moved by these things. So just as this is happening to us on a daily basis, it's also happening on a universal basis. We're literally just being moved by the processes of Prakriti that are manifesting and unmanifesting. And in your day life, you think that you are in control, everything's happening, I have this desire, this, that. Actually, it's all being, there are other material forces that are moving us. We're not actually under control of these things. So I always joke, not joke, but kind of picture it, that the living entities are just kind of like on the, I don't know what you call this. I was gonna say merry-go-round, but that's not a really good image. Like a scary water ride. That's not a good image either. I don't know what it is. When there's unfolding, the living entities are coming out, and then when the destruction, and then unfold, and unfold, and then during their life, the living entities think that I am in control. So this is called as Maya. Actually, we're just being moved by material forces at every point, from the beginning of creation to the forces that impel us on a day-to-day basis. So someone may question all these varieties of bodies that you're producing from your creation. There's some inequality there. Someone is very beautiful, someone is ugly, and so on. There's so much inequality in your creation. So someone may fault God with the cruelty of being partial, favoring some and not favoring others. Yeah.
What? I'm tuned to this point here. What is the function of free will when it comes to pursuing self-realization?
When it comes to pursuing self-realization, what do you mean as a function of free will?
It seems like once you start stepping into the realm of spiritual life, where you're starting to kind of put your ties to karmic reactions, you're kind of stepping out of that karmic cycle, to try to create, upward, you could say upward trajectory. So like when you come to spiritual life, your activities are certain habits and duties. Usually moving your activities to a more spiritual nature.
Yes.
So then it seems like you're not really acting out of your karmic samskaras anymore. At least in particular activities.
Yes. So that means basically function of free will is you can choose to act according to the direction of Shastra, of Sadhu. Otherwise your impressions are acting. Even when you have knowledge, for example, you have knowledge of Shastra, and you've heard from sadhus many times. So still, you have a way of responding to reality, which is also programmed according to your samskaras, right? You have a body which is given to you by Prakriti. And when you encounter events in your life, according to karmic destiny, then you have a way of responding to those events also, which are also programmed into the machinery that is the vrittis of the mind. That is also programmed. I've given an example before, just like if some bully comes. Now, we all may have dealt with bullies in a different way. I was a sweet target for the bullies when I was growing up because I was a small, skinny guy, and I had dreadlocks before they were popular. So that was a horrible experience. So when bullies would come after me, I had a way that my mind automatically responded to the situation. Just attack. Just start swinging and hope you hit something proper. But when bullies dealt with other people, they had another programming that made them like crouch down in fear. Someone dealt with another bully, dealt with another person that had another programming where they got their boys and they all just went after the guy. They had different ways of dealing. So that is also programmed into the mind according to the karmic fructification also programs the way you respond to reality. You understand? So not only the events you encounter in life are fructification of karma, but how you respond to those events are also karmically induced. So then the only way you can get out of that is if you have higher knowledge, right? So that means you've heard from sadhu. So now, having heard from sadhu, you encounter the same situation, and the same programming activates according to karmic prakriti. But now you have this knowledge that allows you to make a choice to move in that way to respond to the situation, or respond according to my karmic programming. So it's like a very minute free will. Of course, agency is situated in the soul. Otherwise, the instructions of Shastra would have no meaning whatsoever. If we were completely under the control of Prakriti, then there would be no reason for Shastra to instruct us. Shastra is not talking to Prakriti because it's inert. It's talking to souls. That means souls must have the ability to follow the instructions of Shastra. Otherwise, there would be no reason to speak them whatsoever if you were just like a puppet under Prakriti's control. So that means agency is situated in the Atman, and he has the ability to direct his consciousness away. But first, he needs to get the higher awareness, right? The way you direct your energy first depends on your knowledge. So then you get knowledge from Shastra, from Sadhu. And then with that little inherent free will that is there, Atma, you can choose to act according to that knowledge, or else you will act according to your karmic program. And those are the two broad options. Durena Yavaram Karma, Buddha Yoga Dhananjaya, Buddho Sharanamatvin Kripana Palahita. So Krishna says in the Gita to take shelter of your knowledge. In contrast to what? Durena Yavaram Karma. Keep karma and that world of impressions that induces you to act karmically. Keep that far away by Buddha Yoga and take shelter of your knowledge. So that is my base. That's like a simple way of explaining it. I mean, it can go really detailed, but the basic relationship between free will and karmic destiny. So as sadhakas, we experience this struggle all the time. So we have some knowledge, but our karmic programming is still playing itself out. So we have a way of thinking about things. We have a way of responding to things that is karmic in nature. We've talked about this in terms that we can't mention in public concerning different types of bodies and their different propensities and so on. So getting out of that it takes knowledge, and then you have to act according to that knowledge. Otherwise, the programming takes over. I don't know if that's the best I got with that.
Maybe just to follow up. So, because obviously there's the material energy and there's spiritual energy, so that when we endorse themselves, we're taking shelter of Krishna's internal energy. And so then that also is just like we're kind of allowing ourselves, like how we say like, oh, you can't control your mind, only Krishna can control your mind. In that sense, it's also kind of surrendering of our will to be and putting trust in not being controlled by Krishna. I guess there's also has to be that surrender of not thinking that just because now that we are to become advanced doesn't mean that you have more control. I'm the doer of my service.
Maybe a good way to think about it. I think the word free will I think the word free in the phrase free will is a little misleading.
Yeah.
Because freedom is only there really with Bhagavan. Everyone else is actually controlled. Jivas especially. They're marginal energy. So they're under the control of the external energy, or they're under the control of the internal energy. So will is okay. You can say will is minute, but it's basically influenced externally or internally. So when will is influenced externally, it is what our life looks like today, problem. And when the will is influenced internally, which you come in contact with the internal energy through sadhus, through shastra, through bhakti, then it's under control of that, right? So just like in the same example, when you're met with a situation, so your karmic thing is manifesting, that's the external energy inviting you to act according to its nature. So then you usually surrender your will to that, or then you have your knowledge coming from the internal energy, Bhagavad-Gita sadhu. That is internal energy, actually. That knowledge is also internal energy. And then it's inviting you to surrender to that will. So you have one is taking your minute will, and they're basically offering it to the external or to the internal energy, and allowing your existence to be moved by that particular energy. So maybe the word free will is a little misleading. It's just like will, but the will is always under influence. Therefore, we are called as marginal energy. So we're either under the influence of internal or external energy, basically. All right, I wanted to finish this passage really quick and then end it. So in verse number 9, as we were mentioning, the doubt is coming. That in the Lord's creation, there is so much inequality. Someone is rich, and they have rich people privilege. I saw one thing, someone is thin. I just saw a thing recently. Someone was crying about thin privilege. And making all these terms up now is becoming quite hard to follow everything. Thin privilege. They did this campaign. There was this campaign, I don't know, like a year ago, of this girl in a swimsuit. They put like a very beautiful girl in a swimsuit. And so there was a huge complaint about that this was glorifying thin people's privilege, and this was like, body shaming. And so, and to retaliate, a group of feminists, many of whom were very fat, they also got in the same swimsuit as this lady and said, we are just as beautiful as these thin ladies. And I was like, yeah, maybe on the inside. Because all souls are beautiful on the inside, right? But externally, there's some difference. And that's a fact. You cannot escape the inequality of this material world. Now, there are programs too, like affirmative action, which are, I guess, supposed to help maintain equality in the workspaces and educational institutions and so on. But they don't realize that some people may actually just be genuinely less intelligent, and that's just part of the karmic situation that they got. Someone who's just like very brilliant. So this inequality of the world situation has been quite a cause of disturbance in the modern social political discussion. The tendency is to even the playing field, especially because of envy. So if you say God is the creator of all these things, then again, immediately everyone wants to point the finger at God. That why will God make a creation like this where there's so much inequality? So there's some fault in God's creation. So Krishna responds to that. This is verse number 9. He doesn't take responsibility for that. Nachamam tani karmani nibhatnanti dhananjaya. So, O Dhananjaya, all this creation does not bind me, nibhatnanti, bind me with the fault of inequality. That doesn't come in the translation, but this is how all the commentators are explaining this. He said, I am not bound by this activity of creation, nor can I be faulted for the inequality that is manifest in the world. Because all the differences that one sees manifest in the world are due to the manifestation of people's karmas, which are performed by them. And so they're getting the merit of their own activity. And the Supreme Lord, and this was mentioned in the earlier commentaries, is simply like, he's compared to rain that falls on the ground, facilitating the growth of different seeds that have been planted. So without the rain coming, then the seeds will not grow. So therefore, in the same way, unless Krishna's presence is in the world, the different karmas will not manifest whatsoever. At the same time, if a mango tree comes out, you don't blame the rain for producing mango tree. You say, why mango trees come? Why not avocado tree? They say, well, what seed did you plant? I planted a mango seed. So that means a mango tree is going to come out. So in the same way, the different situations people get, that seems like very simplistic, but kind of at the end of the day, that's what it is. You've planted some seeds of activities in previous life. So in this life, you got this particular body, you have a particular mind. So if you don't like your body, you don't like your mind, then you understand something about what you did in your previous life. Like I said, you go to the mirror, you're like, in your mind, you're thinking something nonsense all the time, especially like japa time. And when you wake up in the morning, you feel like the mind is peaceful. And then as soon as you put your hand in the bead bag, hey, some horrible thought comes up. So why did this happen? Through your own karma. So God may have manifested the manifestation of bodies in the world, but the situation that we're encountering, the body we're encountering, the mind we're encountering, the life situation we're encountering, that is due to our karma. So you cannot fault me with this inequality thing. I'm being cruel. Udasana bhat asina. He says, I am situated as if neutral. Just like a judge is there, this example given by all of our acharyas. If a judge is there, he is awarding or punishing according to if laws are broken, or what's the opposite of broken? Followed very nicely. Rewards. So if you follow nicely, some reward is given. If you break the law, some punishment is given. But for the judge, he really doesn't care either way. He's very neutral. He just looks, the law was broken, okay, punished. Oh, this one is followed nicely, okay, reward. But he himself is actually neutral. His heart is not invested in that person's or situation. The judge, same judge, when he goes home, his heart is actually invested in those people. But the judge, when dealing with these people, would know, did you break the law? Yes, okay, punished. How could you do this to me? You broke the law, very neutral. His heart is in a neutral situation. So idasana va asina, I am situated as though neutral. Asaktam teshu karmasu, without attachment or attraction to those activities. Just like the judge. You broke the law, yes. Simple. This becomes a very important statement later on in this chapter because this is the most confidential chapter because Krishna wants to talk about his devotion to his devotees. So again, he will discuss his neutrality in a different context. It's very important. So the last verse here of the passage is a kind of a summary of the verse. Maya adyakshena pakritihi. So Maya adyakshena means by my glance. Pakritihi, this material nature, suyate sacharachana, it is manifesting moving and non-moving entities. So by the presence of the Supreme Lord, Pakriti is able to manifest these things. So she's not doing it independently. Hetuna nina konteya. So this cut viparivartate. In this way, the whole world is working, is moving. So if you study any of the Shastra, especially our literature, Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, this is just like a very summary discussion of Krishna's glories in relationship to this world. So by hearing about these things, it nourishes attraction to the Lord as a servant. So generally, you want to serve the most opulent person. Because he who has the most opulence becomes the most attractive person. So by hearing about these opulences of the Supreme Lord, and the idea is that you'll become attracted. Wow, such a powerful guy. I should worship him. That is the idea. It doesn't happen too much, but this is the idea of this passage. Okay? Now, time is up, but I did have a question, so you have to do it next time. Do you think you can remember everything? Why? You remember everything? Share one thing you heard today.
Okay. So, see how you said there's like everyone's, I guess their lives are like fully planned out or whatever, it's already like fixed. And they're not changing it.
No, we didn't exactly say that, but okay.
Okay. But like, I guess this question is wait, it's like, I figure it's like, it's kind of, if it's already fixed, then isn't that kind of like defeat the purpose of like even trying to do like possess anything?
Yes. Why try anything? It's already fixed. I'm already a demon. And that is concluded for the rest of my life. It is something like this. I gave another example. I'll give another one here. If you buy a ticket from New York to India. So the trajectory is fixed. This plane is going to India. But you have some will to do so many things on the plane itself. You can accost one of the stewardesses on the plane. So when the plane gets to the destination, you'll be arrested. But the general trajectory is fixed for the plane. But you still have some will to move around the plane to make certain decisions on the plane. And those decisions will determine the future, will determine your future, determine the result in the future that you experience. So you have, so in other words, you've already bought a ticket in the past, so now your plane is on a certain trajectory, and you do certain activities while you're on the plane that will determine another future, and this way it is going on. So in a similar way, our lives have a certain trajectory that has been built because of karma, but within that certain trajectory, so many other things can happen that will also determine things in the future. So that's why, let's say now this is the trajectory of our life, but somehow some sadhu has entered. They've given some contact with an internal energy by talking, by even not talking, just by seeing them also. Some inspiration can come. There are many examples of that. So then, although this is the trajectory of your life, because of that contact with a sadhu, that trajectory can be, well, not trajectory, but the life decision that you make while operating within that trajectory can now be moved in another direction. Otherwise, yeah, it's basically everyone is just like the living dead. I've been trying to find all these verses in the Bhagavatam that speak about the living dead, because it's kind of a cool concept. The zombie, moving and breathing, but actually dead or not alive, or really just under the control of another force. Actually, it is not their own life. It is really the life that the material energy is giving to them. So if you don't have this contact with higher power, internal energy, then yeah, everything is more or less useless. Therefore, there's so many statements like that in the Bhagavatam. One is just being moved by these external forces like a zombie. Actually, if you do this exercise, not as a criticizing thing, but just as an interesting thing to observe, if you just practice silence for a day, if you're not in the temple, and you just like walk outside, walk around, kind of just observe what's happening, and particularly hearing the conversation people are having, then you can see how the conversations are very mechanical. They're just like very, very mechanical, as if it's not really them speaking. It's just like other forces speaking for them because they're puppets in the hands of the mature energy. For example, someone would say, "It's such nice weather today." Yeah, it is such nice weather today. It's like not said with any baba, no feeling, anything. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? This happened to me a few times also here in New York where someone would ask me, "How are you?" I said, "I'm okay." "How are you?" They said, "I'm also okay." And they said, "Great weather today." I said, "Yeah." They said, "How are you?" I'm like, "You just literally asked me that like 15 seconds ago." Because it's just like another energy is moving. So, yeah, if one doesn't have contact with higher power, the instructions of God and so on, then yeah, your life is defeated by material energy. Harabhavas tavara bodha jato, yavana jignasata atmatattvam. So many statements like this in the Bhagavatam, actually. But it's not useless because the minute will is there. So if you do get contact, you can choose a different direction. Otherwise, yeah, useless. That's what we say, at least. That's our philosophy. Very inspiring, man. Yeah, last thing.
So, like according to karma, people have different aspirations, opportunities.
Yeah.
Someone may be born in a brothel, and someone may be born in a shipwreck.
Yeah.
And yet, we're told that this human form of life is meant for God realization, and then there's also this idea of this laws of karma. The question is, how can we expect? How do we put the same? How do we apply the same laws to people who are born or brought up in different circumstances and situations and expect all of them to develop the relationship with the divine or God and all of these different kinds of surroundings, aspirations.
Yes. I don't know if that expectation is there for Vaishnavas. I know in like Middle Eastern traditions, you only have this one life. Good luck. And if you're not successful, you go to hell. So this question really is a strong one to such traditions. Like, well, this person's born in this situation. They didn't even get contact with this tradition. Also, they didn't get contact with that knowledge, and they only had this short 80 years to get it right, and they didn't get it right, and now they have to go to hell eternally for that. And I've, of course, myself have posed this question to so many persons in the Middle Eastern traditions, and they obviously don't have an answer for that. But with Vaishnavas, our concept that there are unlimited jivas in the material world, unlimited jivas in the material, that's inconceivable, eternally. So there will always be jivas in the material world who are conditioned by material energy. That's just the way that cookie crumbles. Just like there are unlimited jivas in the spiritual world, there are also unlimited jivas in the material world. And so I don't know if it's the expectation that all will get opportunity to, go back home as a guy. I think one time a reporter asked for the Prabhupada question, what if everyone became like you? And Prabhupada said, don't worry, that's not going to happen. But the reporter insisted, but what if they did? And then Prabhupada said, then this world will become Vaikuntha. So it is not the expectation of Vaishnava that everyone will become. That is not possible also. Because there are unlimited jivas and unlimited circumstances in the material worlds, in hellish planets and celestial planets and so on. But it is, the point is being made that this is actually the purpose of this particular body. Now you may use it for that purpose or not, according to the level of knowledge that you have. But this is the purpose of this body. Nirdeham adyam su labham su durlabham plavam su kalpam guru karnadana. This human form is compared to a boat. The guru is the captain of the boat, and the shastra is the favorable winds propelling the boat. And if you don't use it for that purpose, then you're a killer of your own soul. You'll suffer repeated births and deaths. So that's just stating the facts plainly. It's not exactly expressing the expectation. Of course, if you're a leader taking responsibility or someone who accepts dependence, what is that verse? Guru nasasyat, sojano nasasyat, pita nasasyat, dharani nasasyat. This verse is there. Don't become guru, king, father, mother, husband, relative. That's a really hard one to avoid, but unless you can deliver your dependence from birth and death. No mocha ya samupetum, this verse is given. So at least in Dharma cultures, they knew of this responsibility. Shastra says this is the purpose of this life form, and therefore the culture has to be surrounded for fulfilling this particular purpose. Now it's Kali Yuga, there's so much ignorance, and this is not expected that hardly anyone has this knowledge now. So it is not expected that they will live their life accordingly, but they will suffer on account of not doing so. So as Vaishnavas, we have this knowledge that someone shall come to ask us, and we will tell them this is the cause of your suffering, that you're not using this form of life for what it's meant for. When they come to ask us, we come in contact. But I don't think it's the Vaishnava expectation that everyone shall become like us. But the result is that if you don't become like us, you have to suffer. And that is not in a secular, sectarian, you're going to hell. It's more like if you put your hand in fire, you're going to be burned. That's just the way that cookie crumbles. That's a universal rule. In the same way, if you don't become devotee, then you have to suffer in samsara. Right? Ashraddha dharma purusha dharmasya prantapa aprapyamam nivartante mritu samsara vartmani. In 9.3, we just heard this verse also. If you don't have faith in this dharma, then you do not attain me, you attain repeated birth and death. So that's not Christian like condemning. It's just saying like that's what it is. You need bhakti to get out of the material world, and if you don't want to do that, then. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of that's my understanding for sure. Just like sometimes just devotees really, we have to save all the conditioned souls. Like first of all, We can't even say everyone in the movement. Forget all the conditioned souls. Everyone that's in this, they cannot be saved. Everyone in this building may not be able to be saved. It's very hard to save even one person. But even if you have some idea, we have to say, oh, look, that's impossible. Prabhupada writes about this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Even if one soul gets liberated, then immediately that soul is replaced by another conditioned soul who was situated in the Mahavishnu in the state of deep sleep. The idea is that even when jivas are manifested, all the jivas aren't manifested with bodies. Some of them are still existing inside Mahavishnu in deep sleep. That is also mind-boggling. So there's this pastime where, okay, I have to finish with this for 8 o'clock. There's this pastime in Gaur-lila where Vasudev, who is it? Vasudev Datta? He says that all these conditioned souls, they're suffering so much. May all the karma of all the conditioned souls fall on me. May they all be liberated. Now, very hard to say this genuinely. I remember when I first heard this story, I was like, yeah, that's deep, you know. Yeah, I think I'm going to be like that too. And then I like hurt myself. I was like, nah. A simple burn in the finger. And I'm just like, no, I don't think I can take everyone's suffering. So it's very hard to even think such a thing like that. That may all the stuff, even Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, right before his cancer thing came up, he wrote this Vyasa Puja offering. You can see it in 2004, where he prayed for all the reactions that the movement was suffering from because of their improprieties. May it all come upon him so that the movement can spread and be successful. You read in 2004, I remember that offering very specifically. I had just joined the movement. And literally not less than a year later, this whole cancer thing blew up, less than a year later, right after he wrote that offering. So it's very hard to find a person who can really genuinely feel that way. So anyway, Vasudeva Ghosh, he said like this. And immediately it said Mahaprabhu liberated all the jivas in the material world. He said, why do you have to suffer? I can liberate them all easily. So they are all liberated. So I really made me think, like, even Christopher Columbus, because he was around that time, you know. I was like really thinking, like, Christopher Columbus got liberated. Man, that was one lucky person. Because 1492 had passed by the time. I was like, man, he got liberated. But so if all the jivas got liberated, how there's so many jivas here now? They all got liberated. So Prabhupada writes that as soon as all those jivas got liberated, they were immediately replaced with a whole other set of jivas who had karmic things to play out, who were situated in the body of Mahavishnu. Because there's literally unlimited jivas. So there's no expectation that all shall become Vaishnava. But this is the point, though. If you don't become Vaishnava, we don't expect that all shall become Vaishnava, but if you don't become Vaishnava, you have to suffer. They should not probably say it like that if you want to sound more like universal and inclusive and so on. But this is our point. We don't expect. They said, do I have to become Vaishnava? No, you don't have to become Vaishnava. You don't have to become Vaishnava. If you don't become a Vaishnava, you will suffer. But that is not us condemning them to suffering. We are well-wisher, actually. We're saying if you stick your hand in fire, it will burn. That's the way that works. So we're not condemning. Bhagavad-Gita is not condemning. It's just saying this is how the material. So someone said, well, why does it have to be this way? Why can't it be another way?